Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, we asked the Dodgers to make a statement in this weekend series with the Padres, and they must listen to Locked On Dodgers because boy, did they deliver. Dodgers swept the Padres. We have so much to talk about this, plus some updates on Clayton Kershaw, Chris Taylor, and who might start for the Dodgers on Wednesday. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Dodger fans. This is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, the show is free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Or just go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching and listening right now, and then you will never miss a day because you know we're not going to. If this is your first time listening or watching, I am Jeff Snider. That guy next to me is Vin Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box in the locker room. So we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. And the smart fans perspective today, Vince, is that was a fun series against the Padres. Wouldn't you agree?
We got the sweep, baby. We got the sweep. We asked for it, and we got it. And, all the quotes out of Padre land have been kind of funny the last few days. It's one of those where I talked about last week. If the Dodgers had gone or finished the season 12-0 against the Padres, it wouldn't have made me feel any better about playing them in October if they did play them in October. And while these 3 games doesn't change that fact, it was also very enjoyable and very fun to watch. And yeah, Padre fans, they didn't have much to say today.
Yeah, it's there was all sorts of talk. The fans from both sides of this, whatever you want to call it, definitely get into it. I do think that there are a lot of Dodger fans who maybe uh, be betray their point that it's not a rivalry by talking a lot about the Padres. But then there's definitely a whole lot of insecurity on the Padres fans side where they're so desperate for it to be a rivalry. And like most discussions of rivalries, it comes down to, hey, we define this word differently. Like I always said, I think what really makes a rivalry is when the teams and the fans care, even when the games on the field don't matter. That's what the Dodgers and Giants have. You could have the Dodgers in 4th place and the Giants in 5th place, and them playing each other, and they would still hate each other and want to win. And right now the Padres are trying to be good, and so it's relevant on the field, and it's there. So either they're going to have to keep being trying to be good, or we're going to have to see if this has any lasting power. But for now, it's a lot of fun. The stadium was rocking this weekend, and it was, you know, after all the talk of the trade deadline, even into I drove down from Utah to California on Sunday. I ended up listening to almost the entire game on the radio while I was driving because I remembered halfway through my trip that everybody in California is driving home from Vegas on Sunday afternoon. So my trip took a little longer than usual. So I listened to the radio and I had the national broadcast for the first couple innings. And it was kind of funny. At the top of the second inning, Tyler Anderson had a second straight 1-2-3 inning. By the end of the top of the second, Tyler Anderson only thrown 15 pitches. He was just, being very efficient and just working his way through the lineup. And yet the national broadcast, they spent that whole top of the second inning talking about how unprecedented and unbelievable the Padres trade deadline was. And it's like, guys, I feel like you were at your talking points before the series started, and maybe should have updated for the fact that the Padres went out and won the trade deadline, and then showed up and got outscored 20-4. Or I guess when this game started, it was only 16-4 in the first 2 games, total of 24 in the whole weekend. Yeah, I mean the Dodgers basically said, "Cute acquisitions. We're still a better team."
Yeah, and that's, they went out there. And, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, Padre fans, on Friday it was just Sean Manaea, and the umpire. And then, Saturday it was, Mike Clevenger is he's not one of our top 3 guys. Okay, whatever. Comes to Sunday, Darvish, I didn't even stick around to see what they had to say. And yeah, it was just a thorough. The Dodgers are playing their best baseball this season right now on all facets, offensively, defensively, pitching wise. Bullpen. Everything. Craig Kimbrell pitched an inning and didn't allow a run, so that was fun to see on Sunday. And it was just a lot of the Dodgers were ahead the whole time, or they were in control the whole time. There was not really any doubt, and we're not going to say, oh my God, the Dodgers are the best, they're whatever, but they went out there and showed like, hey, and Max Muncy said it, and Freddie Freeman said it, and I'm sure a couple other people said like, hey, we have the best record in the National League before all this trades happened. And Max Muncy said, we have some pretty good guys in this lineup too. We have a pretty solid lineup. And they went out and showed it. I mean, to shut down the Padres, on the other side, shut down the Padres to 4 runs over 3 games when you had Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Brandon Drury, on top of Machado and everyone else. And then, by the end of the weekend, it was Padre fans saying, hey, we're waiting for Fernando Tatis. Once he's back, we'll be back. And then you saw the Padres AA team account tweeting out that while he didn't get any hits, Fernando Tatis Jr. made contact 3 times at the plate. So, it just seemed like it was just a fun little meltdown in Padre land, and spearheaded by the Dodgers beating them.
Yeah, at least one of the things I saw from at least one Padre fan was that Tyler Anderson and Andrew Heaney both must be cheating because they weren't good last year and now they are. So there's that rational, level-headed analysis.
Not used to seeing pitchers get better when they go to San Diego.
Yeah, it's weird. You mentioned Max Muncy talking about the good team they have. Max Muncy is starting to turn into part of that good team. In the last 8 or 9 games, he has been much, much better. And you and I both said at the All-Star break, I think we both kind of made the prediction that second half Max Muncy was going to be roughly what we expect. And that even though at the end of the year, you're going to look at his overall numbers and it's still going to be a down year. But if we can get in these last, after the All-Star break, if we could get half a season of classic Max Muncy, that would be huge for the Dodgers. And we saw on Saturday's game, Max Muncy was huge. He was the difference. The Dodgers tacked on some more runs after, but the Padres had taken the lead. They were up 3-2, and Max Muncy turned on a 2-strike hanger and hit it over the wall for a 3-run homer. It was a huge home run, probably Muncy's biggest home run of the season at this point. The White Sox one was pretty big too, and this one had some similarities that Joe Davis was talking about, the similarities even before the home run, talking about in Chicago, the White Sox intentionally walked Trey to get to Max. This time they, not intentionally, but they weren't heartbroken to hit Will Smith with a pitch to get to Max Muncy with 2 outs. And Max, he probably didn't take it quite as personally as an intentional walk, but he did the same thing, hit a 3-run homer. And, between Max Muncy and then Cody Bellinger hitting 2 home runs on Sunday, if those 2 guys, I mean, they've been basically the weak links this season. If they can get going, this is like that Dodger lineup that we dreamed about when they signed Freddie Freeman.
And it's to the point where some of these guys, like you said, I tweeted, about Muncy and Bellinger, and they've seemed to step it up since the Gallo trade, and these guys are now fighting for spots in October. I think Cody Bellinger is pretty safe just because he does play a great center field. But if Chris Taylor's hitting and like Gallo starts hitting, then in theory they could put Chris Taylor in center, put Gallo in left, and not lose too much defensively and have better offensively. Max Muncy, Gallo, DH type of battle. If assuming everybody's healthy going into October, so these guys, while I don't think they needed the push, they obviously knew that they could be better and wanted to be better. But it's also a matter of, okay, like they did go out and get somebody, not necessarily Juan Soto, but they did go out and get somebody that can push us. And, Max Muncy is now over, or at one point he was over 175 on Sunday's game. I think he went under after his last at bat, but he's hitting, I think, like 380 in the month of August, which not that long so far, but hey, better than what he was doing. Bellinger's over 200. He hit the 2 home runs. He's looked a little bit better. So, if this is like that iron sharpen iron type of thing, or whatever the case, or if this is just, even if it's just a hot streak, you need those type of hot streaks. And if we know that Max Muncy and Bellinger can have those hot streaks, then it's a lot easier to play them, down the stretch and into October because, hey, it might come and we have some faith in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So much more to talk about from this series. We're going to talk about the dominant pitching. We're going to talk about the base running, just kind of the Dodgers putting on a clinic all weekend. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership again. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to vroom.com, and check out thousands of great cars. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Vince, we are back to talk more about this sweep of the Padres. In the last segment today, we're going to give a little updates on Clayton Kershaw and Chris Taylor and a couple of other things. But this series, Dave Roberts said after the game on Saturday that the team was kind of putting on a clinic. And then during Sunday's game, when I was listening on the radio, Charlie Snider and Rick Monday used that word again a couple times, a clinic. And yeah, the Dodgers, they didn't play flawless baseball, but it was about as close to perfect baseball as you're going to find in this day and age. Between the pitching, they allowed one earned run the whole weekend, and that one came in the ninth inning of a blowout and only scored because of a defensive indifference. They let Josh Bell take second base. He ended up scoring on a sac fly. And so realistically, I mean, the Dodgers didn't allow any earned runs in 3 games against a team that just traded for 3 good hitters, and all 3 of them were in the lineup, and actually they did okay. They got their hits, but the Dodgers pitching did a really good job of shutting things down. Like, if you had told us going into the season, Padres are going to be chasing the Dodgers in the division, and the Dodgers will be going out there with Tony Gonsolin, Andrew Heaney, and Tyler Anderson as their 3 starters, you'd think, okay, hopefully the Padres. Oh, who are they starting? Oh, 3 of their good guys. Oh, that's rough. We're probably going to lose that series. Instead, it was a dominant pitching performance from all 3 of them. Obviously, Tony Gonsolin, we've talked about a few times. This was kind of Gonsolin's game was kind of a flashback to 2020 when he wasn't very efficient, got into some trouble, but wiggled out of it without allowing many runs. 2020 Gonsolin's ERA was really good, but he never kind of gave you that confidence. And that was kind of what we had here, where he only got through 5 innings because he was just throwing way too many pitches.
Yeah, and real quick on the defensive front, we have to add some more runs on Gavin Lux's error board, since unfortunately when he makes an error, the Dodgers don't always back it up after. But all in all, like I said, strong defensively. That they turned a lot of double plays, which they have, they don't normally do, especially with the way they shift and everything. But Padres helped out in that respect. They turned a lot of double plays, and yeah, I mean, like I said, it was Gonsolin was solid, not great, but then the bullpen stepped in after. You had Anderson on Sunday. He pitched really well, and then you had Saturday was
Andrew Heaney, remember?
Andrew Heaney. Oh yeah, and he pitched okay. So without 2, Heaney didn't make it out of the 5th. Gonsolin didn't get past 5. Anderson helped him a little on Sunday, but it was, like you said, a true team effort. I mean, everyone, I think, contributed in a certain extent, whether it was offensively, defensively, pitching wise, everything else. And I don't know if the Dodgers, it didn't, the other part too is, like, it didn't seem like the Dodgers were like playing any extra or any different because of this series. It just looked like they were playing the way they've been playing. There wasn't any like extra emotions out of it. There wasn't any like, extra celebrations or, anything to that extent. It was just, we went out there, we played baseball, we got it done. And yeah, there's a reason we're had the best record in baseball before. There's a reason we had the best record in the NL. Now they're starting to pass up the Yankees a little bit more for best record in the entire league. That the Yankees lost 5 in a row, Dodgers won 5 in a row. So yeah, it was just a reminder, and they could go and lose 7 of the next 10, and it's not going to phase them realistically in terms of the division, and it wouldn't mean too much. But the way they've been playing to sweep the Giants and then the Padres back-to-back series is just a good time to be a Dodger fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other big things is in that game on Friday when Gonsolin didn't really have it, the offense did. And so even though Gonsolin only got through 5 innings, if it wasn't for wanting Gonsolin to get a win, they probably would have pulled Gonsolin after 4. The game was already out of hand, but it allowed them. He went 5 innings, and it let them finish the game with David Price and uh, uh, I forgot the guy's name. Reyes Maranta and Phil Bickford. And so those guys, it's not their high leverage relievers. And so then you come into the last 2 games of the series knowing we have 2 games and then a day off, and our top guys are all rested. And so they were able to go a little bit more, and the games on Saturday and Sunday were a little bit closer. Both of them ended up not super close, but they were both close at times, and so the Dodgers were able to play as if they were. And so on Sunday, Tyler Anderson went 7, and then they went with Evan Phillips and Craig Kimbrell as if it was a close game. Maybe there was a 4-run game, and both of them pitched really well. But the offense exploding on Friday really set up the pitching for the whole series.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of turn it a little bit. We saw Will Myers comment after the game on Saturday. He says that maybe they put too much emphasis on this team, meaning the Dodgers. And then he kind of said once the season gets going, once whatever it was, once we play together, I think the outcomes will be different. Something to that extent. Frank Thomas on Fox, similar. I think that earlier that day or maybe on Friday, whenever it was, he was saying something too like, oh, it's going to take them a little while. And I don't know. For me, it was interesting because what do they need to play together for? There's 9 guys in the lineup. They're each having individual at bats. There's not like oh, if he's hitting, I'm gonna hit better. The only thing would be maybe up the middle, turning double plays, like that type of synergy, and the outfield just kind of learning, hey, I like this territory or I cover this territory better, but lineup wise, there's not a gelling point. Everyone's taking individual at bats.
Yeah, none of that stuff you mentioned came into play in this series. And so I was surprised to hear baseball players saying that. It sounds like the kind of crap you would hear a guy who, used to play in the NFL and now he's an all-purpose sports talk radio guy who doesn't understand that baseball is a different sport. It sounds like something you'd hear him say because, yeah, baseball is a series of individual events. And every once in a while, there's something you need to work well together. Trey Turner and Gavin Lux work really well up the middle together on double plays and stuff. And that's good. But for the most part, like you said, Juan Soto, he got his hits and he got on base. He did pretty well this weekend. Yeah. And, and Jerks and Profar had a pretty good weekend. And, but the fact is, a couple guys having individual good weekends, it's not like that was going to be better. Like you said, Manny Machado isn't going to suddenly hit better next time because he's been Juan Soto's teammate for longer. It's individual at bats. And so baseball is not like football or basketball. I totally get that argument. If you're talking about basketball and you bring in a new superstar, and because in basketball, only one guy gets to shoot each time, unless you get an offensive rebound, but each possession, you say, okay, who's shooting this time? And if you've got 4 guys who want to take every shot, yeah, there's potential for issues there. But if you got 9 guys who want to hit a home run every time up, that's good because they get to take turns batting. And, there's nothing about baseball that is going to get better as they play together better. Now, getting Fernando Tatis back might help if Tatis is healthy and effective. I think it's interesting that they're banking so hard on Tatis coming back and just immediately being peak Fernando Tatis because the dude hasn't played a baseball game other than making contact in a double-A game 3 times in almost a year, and he's coming off a pretty serious injury. And oh yeah, by the way, he also has a shoulder that likes to fall out sometimes. Like, yeah, touch may be great, but it's no guarantee. And if there's one thing we know about Tatis last year is that Tatis and Machado aren't exactly the epitome of a cohesive teammate relationship.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you could say someone could listen to this podcast now. The Padres get hot in a couple weeks and win, put off a win streak, and they might say, "See, that's what they needed." No, I mean, realistically, if Manny Machado starts hitting, Juan Soto starts hitting, Josh Bell starts hitting, they all start hitting and start winning. It's not because they played longer together; it's just they got in a hot streak. That's just the way it is. But
Yeah.
maybe if they move the lineup around, maybe you could argue that point. But it was just a weird point that I kept seeing argued this weekend, and I was like, I don't know, I don't see it. If someone can explain to me why they think that, then I would like to hear it.
Yeah, it seems silly to me. But yeah, great series. Dodgers sweep the Padres. You and I, we talked about how fun it would be if the Dodgers did sweep. I don't think we necessarily thought it was. Definitely didn't think it was likely. Obviously, it was realistic. The Dodgers are a better team than the Padres, so I think every game the Dodgers would be favored. But even when you're favored 3 games in a row, it's hard to win all 3 of them. But now they've swept the Padres after sweeping the Giants, after winning 3 out of 4 from the Rockies. It's been a really, really good stretch right here. I think they went 15-3 their last 18 games before the All Star break, and now they've gone 15-3 since the All Star break. That's a combined 30-6. That'll do. So, like you said, they're the best record in Major League Baseball by 4.5 games or something right now. Great series, a lot of fun. We got a couple other things to talk about. We're going to touch on the Vin Scully ceremony, tribute ceremony before Friday's game. We're going to talk a little about Clayton Kershaw, Chris Taylor, and who might pitch on Wednesday. So, thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every day, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. BetOnline.net is fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Vince, we are back. I want to talk a little bit about the ceremony that the Dodgers put together to honor Vin Scully on Friday. That game ended up being a really hot ticket. It was kind of funny. I kind of keep an eye on secondary market prices because I'm often having to sell my season tickets since I don't get to very many games. And I have 8 tickets, and I sold them in 3 different batches. I sold 2 just originally when it was just a Dodgers Padres Friday night game, and they drew a pretty penny. And then after the trade deadline, when the Padres got Juan Soto and other guys, I sold 4 more, and those ones went for more because there was a little bit more excitement about this. And then the Dodgers announced they were doing the Vin Scully tribute, and I sold my last 2 tickets for quite a bit more and a lot less than I could have. I didn't want to gouge anybody who just wanted to go to the Vin ceremony, and I still, I could have sold my tickets for twice as much as I had sold the ones for before they announced the Vin ceremony. That's how excited people were to honor Vin, and the Dodgers did a really good job putting it together. A really nice video. Some of his highlights. Just a tear fest. And then Dave Roberts got the microphone, and he's a very eloquent guy, especially for a baseball guy. They unveiled a banner, kind of mirroring Vin's banner that he had in his last home game. It was the opposite of us telling him that we'll miss him. All in all, you were there, Vince. It was awesome watching on TV. I assume it was pretty awesome being in the stadium for.
Yeah, it was one of those where I'm not used to there being that many fans there. Before first pitch, they had told people it'd be there 6:30. It ended up starting around 6:50. And yeah, the video was nice. That it was very similar to the video they had already put out with John Hartung narrating. This one was Charlie Steiner narrating. So I'd seen most of that stuff. And then they cut to Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing as a bunch of pictures from Scully's life were playing. So that I was fine up until that point. Then when I heard that song, I was like, all right, why'd they have to do us like that right now? And then that's when the team came out and honored everyone. I did think that they were gonna have maybe some more people talk. Maybe that's why they had said 6:30. I thought it was gonna be a little bit longer ceremony, but I'm sure they're gonna save that for like an actual memorial or whatever services happen and things like that. So it makes sense. But yeah, I mean it was not, and I don't know how they're going to play it the rest of the year, but having the entire stadium say it's time for Dodger baseball at once, that was pretty cool. They did it again on Sunday. Not sure about Saturday, wasn't there, but that was a cool little tribute, and I think that's something they can maybe keep the rest of the year. I know they usually let whoever throws out the first pitch do it, but maybe they can lead it and still let everyone else join in on it. And yeah, you walk around and there's a bunch of little Vin tributes and memorials and flowers and everything else. And yeah, it was a you know the way he would have wanted to be. Nothing outlandish, nothing wild, but enough for us fans and everyone else to show him love.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all that stuff in person on Wednesday when I go to the game. Yeah, Tear Fest, and I think it was good. Closure is probably not quite the right word. It's not like we're going to stop missing Vin, but I think that was a good way to get the bulk of the tears out, and now go to the happy memories mostly. So it's always good. That's why you have memorial services and things like that, is to get that kind of closure. Just a couple news bits, odds and ends. Clayton Kershaw did get placed on the injured list, which we knew he would. They did say X-rays and MRIs both didn't show anything major, and so they're expecting it to be, a short-ish stint. Obviously, it's a 15-day minimum. I get the impression that they're probably thinking 3 or 4 weeks, which kind of might be. I realize the parallel. It's almost the same exact date that he got hurt last year, and because I saw my time hop the day after Kershaw got hurt, I saw me saying a year ago, well, as long as he comes back in healthy in September, this might actually be a blessing in disguise because it'll limit the innings on his arm and he can be fresh in October. As we know, that didn't happen last year. And so, but this is a back thing. It's not related to his arm at all, and so hopefully they will be wise about it. One of the great things about having a huge lead in the division is you don't have to rush Kershaw back. You have the other guys going. Basically, I kind of hope they just bring him back enough to be stretched out to go 5 or 6 innings in the postseason. So maybe 2 or 3 starts at the end of the season just to get stretched out, and then head into October relatively fresh. That's kind of what I'm hoping for at this point, especially since trade deadline's already passed. So it's not like they need to find out what they have. What they have is what they have. And so your best bet for Kershaw, I think, is to just kind of let him rest as much as he needs to.
Yeah, you'd prefer not to have the injury, but like you said, without anything major and kind of where we're at in the season and where the Dodgers are at in terms of, the division standing and everything else, it's not terrible. And the other part is what we're kind of going to talk about now is, you know, I think it's going to give Ryan Pepio a chance to get a couple times through the rotation. I do, they did call up Andre Jackson for Yency Almonte. Yency Almonte went on the injured list with elbow tightness. I don't love that wording, but we'll see what happens there. But I think Andre Jackson was probably just one of the guys on the 40-man that was available to be called up and hadn't pitched recently, I would imagine. That's why he got called up. I do think Pepio is going to be the guy. And if Pepio can get 2-3 times through the rotation, the Dodgers can see what they have. Or not see what they have, but they can see, how he does, how he performs, and he can audition a little bit for maybe, an October role. It would be more out of the pen than as a starter, but, just different things. The Dodgers at this point for the rest of the season are trying to stay healthy and figure out that October playoff roster.
Yeah, Jackson started for Oklahoma City on Tuesday in Salt Lake. And so, yeah, basically it was, well, he's a warm body. And just in case we need an arm, I assume that he will be the guy they send down on Wednesday when they officially recall Pepio, and gets Jackson 3 or 4 days of major league pay, which is great. He's probably not going to get in a game, and that's okay too. Gets him a little bump in the paycheck, and then gets Pepio up when the time comes. As for Almonte, yeah, it's not thrilling wording, but he didn't seem too nervous, and neither did Dave Roberts. Almonte specifically said it's something he's dealt with before, and it's not serious. It's just something he every once in a while just needs a couple weeks off. And again, Almonte, everybody they have right now, all I care about is them being fresh in October. And so I wouldn't mind if Evan Phillips needs a Phantom IL stint at some point, to give him a little break or whatever, or even if they just, whatever it is, What I really want is for Phillips and Almonte and Trinan and Kimbrel to all be healthy and effective in October. Plus Brewstar and Ferguson, and Vesia, whoever the 7 or 8 pitchers are. I mean, those 7 guys I just listed, if they're all healthy and effective, that's a really, really good bullpen. And and then you've got other guys who have had pretty decent stretches. Even Reyes Maranta looked really good the other night. He faced 5 batters and he struck out 4 of them, and the other one hit a little weak comebacker, the infield single. I mean, he looked really good, and he's got good stuff. So there's potential to be really good, and hopefully, all we can hope for is health in October.
Yeah, Blake Trinan and Brewstar through simulated game on Saturday. Nothing was reported Sunday, which is a good sign. Trinan's close to rehab assignment. I think Brewstar's going to throw one more time to hitters and then maybe head out on the rehab assignment. We know Dustin May's got 2 more starts before he may come back. And then Edwin Rios played 3 days in a row, so he's close to returning. And the one name, I don't think it's going to factor, but Kevin Pillar is trying to come back before the season ends. He realized that he might not factor into the roster, but he said he just wants to be ready and available just in case, basically. So,
Yeah.
Dodgers are on the mend.
Yep, absolutely. And the last guy who is officially mended is Chris Taylor. He was back in the lineup this weekend, had a big hit in Friday's game, a 2-run double, had a great catch in Sunday's game. He played infield, he played outfield. Seems like he is officially Chris Army Knife again, ready to play wherever they need him. And he struck out several times this weekend too. So he's definitely Chris Taylor. I thought it was remarkable that Darvish against a lineup that included Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, Joey Gallo, and Cody Bellinger didn't have too many strikeouts on Sunday. So, there's definitely some swing and miss still there, but definitely good to have Chris Taylor back and happy to see him healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for today, right, Vince?
That's all we got.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend. Always fun to sweep anybody. A little bit more fun to sweep the Padres than some other teams. Not quite as much fun as the sweeping the Giants, but a fun series for sure, and definitely made a statement. So, thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen today and every day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. If you're not listening to or watching Locked On Dodgers every day, we would love if you add 1 or 2 days a month to your rotation. If you have friends or family who love the Dodgers, please tell them about the show. Maybe they'll like it. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at Vince Samperio. I am on Twitter at Snidog, and the DMs are open in all of those places. Our email address is lockedondodgers@gmail.com, and our phone number for voicemails or text messages is 323-863-LOCK 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree, you just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.